So you are in the middle of this and you are in the middle of your career as well. So you're kind of in the perfect, it's the perfect confluence of technological advancement and and career advancement for you. Take a step back as to when you started back in the 2000s, I guess, probably when you were a young guy getting into technology. What's the path now for somebody, because it used to be that your path in was you're the code checker. You're going to do all the stuff that was hard and mundane and redundant, and that was how you were going to get a toehold into a dev team, is you were going to do all the low level stuff that now in theory AI does better than any junior dev, you know, entry level person. So what would you say to somebody who's saying, great for you, you're in the middle of it, you're right where you want to be, but I can't find a way in anymore because it's all going to be agentic. Is that, do you see that as or do you have any advice for people who are trying to get, who I want to be in tech too, and but I don't
Yeah.
know how I'm gonna, well, I don't know where the bottom of the rungs are anymore in the ladder because it feels like they're all being automated away.
Yeah. So uh, it's very hard to predict, especially the future. So I'm gonna focus first on the next 5 years, and
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you
of
want, I can
course.
double click on the
No, no,
next five
no.
years
The next
later.
5 years is plenty.
Okay, cool. So please bear with me. I'm gonna like visualize a 3-dimension graph, but I'm gonna start with two. Hey, and my background is machine learning, statistics, so everything like is with positive samples, negative samples, graphs, vectors.
Sure.
Okay, so let's start with 2-dimension. One, the x-axis is like the seniority. Are you a junior, mid-senior, like mid-seniority, a tech lead or whatever, like that. And y-axis is like how many lines of code you wrote that actually went into production. In my opinion, by the way, I'm sure there's some research, but I even didn't bother to check. I feel strongly about it. You will see like a Gaussian. It means that both edges, like the junior and the seniors, don't push a lot of code to production, and the mid-senior push the most. Why? Because the seniors, they know write less code, but also they spend a lot of time to review and monitor and mentor the mid-seniority and the juniors. The junior is a bit too junior to actually push code to production. Okay. Now, I think that first of all, with AI, what's interesting that's going to happen is that a lot of the code that the mid-seniority are writing is going to be pushed. Let's say that there's like one, you want to have unit one, like under the graph, there's only, you want to have one unit. Then a lot of the code is written, more code is going to be written by the tech leads and less by the mid-seniority, if you consider that AI code that was written in the name of or by the command of the tech leads are theirs. I think you're going to see this Gaussian like being pushed the hill a bit more flat and go into the seniors, because they're going to have an army of like mid-seniors AI developers that are just going to do whatever they're saying, and they can review their code. So that's one thing that's going to change. Hey, but what about the juniors? We just said it's going to be hard. It seems to be even harder. So now I'm going to add the third dimension. Okay. The third dimension is what I mentioned before, that let's put also simple software and complex software, like on the third dimension. The interesting thing is that I think that today, actually, junior developers can write much more code in simple software. So they can almost ramp up by themselves and they don't need too much monitoring. So basically you start as a junior developer. You start, by doing much more code and more simple software. You actually can learn much faster. AI can teach you, and it's even getting better. You become a mid-senior developer, and then you start writing more complex code, and you move to tech lead. So I think like the journey changed, but I wouldn't give up. That's like 5 years, okay? Now, I don't know if you wanted to double click on 10 years, but so I'll say it only on one sentence. Okay, hard to say. I think that basically the profession is going to change a lot, because the tools are going to be so good in writing code, but also checking code. So like humans are going to use AI to do much more complicated tasks. then allowing to be a bit like, poetic, writing software that, drives Teslas and drones, whatever, on Mars, and doing software that helps like solving hard parts and medical like breakthroughs and etc. So we're just gonna look really different. Maybe like in connecting into like you're gonna code also like in very specific field, not just software. It's like we're gonna be coding for physics, and things like that. So I think like it's gonna be like, crazy. Like the profession is gonna change a lot. So we can like talk about it. It's like it's more like philosophy at this point.
Well, philosophically, I love this conversation. So I'll push your buttons a little bit more. Do people need to go to technological institutes to learn this anymore? Are they going to need to in the next 5 years, or is this something where to your point, you're going to learn so much quicker and be able to have so much more practical competence from AI that you don't need to go to university anymore? You don't need to. I mean, do you double click on that?
Yeah, people are saying that for a while now. Like, I don't want to mention names, but I see like some influencers that like not like educated and well known influencers saying that university is dead or etc. And I'm not saying not, but let me tell you what I think is that the importance of being adaptable, like being able to adapt to new situation, the importance of learning is only going to increase. Yes, you would have better learning like tools, but you need to adapt and learn much faster than before. So to some extent, there is some advantage of doing that in universities or colleges, whatever, because that's exactly the idea there. And some of them are actually, understanding or agreeing or with what I'm saying. So they also like shift their own like materials, courses, like the way they teach this way. I know from a few associate professors and professors in university that are thinking this way. So I don't think it's like I wouldn't underestimate the power of being focused on learning in university, and at the same time I do agree that you can learn it like these skills also outside university, where maybe before like 50 years ago, I'm exaggerating it intentionally, like you have to go to university because maybe just the materials are only there.
Correct.
You need to go to the library. So
that's
like,
exactly it.
Yeah, so I think like I wouldn't underestimate like going, because you can learn a lot of skills there, but definitely like you probably can learn that out of university as well.
No, it's interesting. There is we just did a survey actually at Inside Jam with an e-learning partner, that the take was very much around how you now need more soft skills, this big five personality type, that there's, the ability to adapt and the ability to have curiosity and the very human skills that can be developed that you do need, whereas you may not necessarily need the raw technical training, because AI can help you with that in a much more kind of rapid and interactive way than, but without that human behavioral maturity, that you will find it hard. It's an interesting perspective that maybe universities do need to change in terms of how they're.
I think some of them are. That's what maybe I just believing, but that's what I hear. By the way, like for the sake of the discussion, I can also argue that also soft skills are overrated. Again, not saying 5 years, but
I want to hear it.
But 10 years, 15 years. Who said that robots cannot be more compassionate? Like cannot, maybe they actually, they have,
by being completely agreeable all the time for the most part,
or by the way, being exactly that what would work best for you. For some people, being like agreeing all the time, maybe it's the best fit. For others, maybe like agreeing most of the time, but fighting with you or disagreeing on some parts would be most teachable or appealing or satisfying for you. And why not? You would be able to tune that. Maybe they will be able to understand themselves to some extent. And I think like some people or some people are really assholes, and I don't know, like maybe some AI could be better than them. And so like I can argue that soft skills are might be also overrated, but I don't, but I'm saying it just for the sake of making like a good discussion.
No,
I
I,
still think that's very important to skills that we need to progress with, like, and teach our
well,
kids, etc.
so you opened up the concept of, more future vision around robots, and I want to kind of drill down on that. If I get if I get you to kind of continue to kind of think out you have a perspective on this, and I'm sure you're seeing things that are being built that are intended for that end. Where do you see us in terms of interacting with technology? Is it, are there going to be, as they say, millions and millions of agents kind of all over the place, and some, quite frankly, doing a lot of the jobs that currently exist? And do you see, which I think, some of the larger tech players like Tesla, for instance, are saying, we're building robots because we know we're going to literally build millions of robots that are going to be all over the place because people are going to want them. I mean, where do
Yeah,
you see it all going? I mean,
yeah,
it's a crazy. I've never seen a revolution like this, and I'm
yeah.
older than you. I've seen a lot of revolutions. I saw the PC revolution. I saw the web revolution. I've never seen anything like this. This is a whole different thing.
Yeah. Okay. So first, I'm kind of going to avoid a direct answer and giving 2 points of evidence, but I
It's
will
fine.
answer eventually.
Yeah.
So on one hand, look, like I think like people are still flipping burgers in like 99% of places.
Of
Why?
course.
Like
Right.
why?
Right. Right.
Really? Why? This is a machine that can be solved. Like, it's a really interesting question. I think I'm sure like if I ask ChatGPT and they like maybe I get some answer. And on the other hand, you have like Jensen from NVIDIA mentioning in one of the latest conferences saying that very sooner or later, NVIDIA is going to have like 100 million agents working for NVIDIA, while there be, I'm not sure I'm quoting accurately, like around 100,000 employees, human employees in NVIDIA. But by the way, what does it mean 100 million agents? Because like I'll try to explain for those that are not clear. Maybe there will be like 5,000 types, but each one of them to work requires a hardware and B, energy. So it means like just for the sake of an example, maybe there will be like tens of thousands instances for each one of those types, and accumulatively it will reach to 100 million agents that you can put an ID on that's actually working for NVIDIA and that worthwhile economically for the compute and energy. And when you think like on that, that's a lot of work. Like if an agent is kind of doing a human work, by the way, in some cases maybe it can do faster, slower, but just let's assume that it could do it at the same speed, just for simplicity. And it means like there are going to be 100 million AI jobs being done on NVIDIA, meaning what for us? Less jobs. I like we can talk about it. Maybe it will create more jobs. So I think like there's two conflicts here. And I believe that this conflict, again, it really depends, in my opinion, if you're talking about 5, 10, 15, 25 years, it does matter. But if you go to 10 years, I still think there's going to be a lot of in jobs that are going to being replaced, a lot of jobs that are going to be reinvented, a lot of jobs are going to be created, and a lot of interactions, a lot between AI and HI, like artificial intelligence and human intelligence, like embodiments. Again, 10 years. So that's like how I see it. I think the really interesting question is like how are we going to deal with 2041? I chose 2041 because I'm like quoting the book 2041, and 41 is like looks like AI. Or maybe like there's so much automation at this level, so much prosperity, like so much like that maybe that we'll need to change society in ways that are being discussed. I'm not the first that are going to like talk about it here, like universal base income salary. I have a feeling that it's going to be national base income, like per country, per state, even depends where the AI is running and who is like suffering more or less from that. That's my
right.
guess. And like a lot of things we usually think as people of 40 years, whatever happened in the last 40 years is going to stay. No, like the way that our government worked like changed throughout the centuries, and it did change. Who said that now it's the end? No, like I feel that this is technology. The same reason for that a lot of change because of the industrial revolution and things like that enable us to democracy, in my opinion. So I think like this revolution will probably push us to a new type of government, actual government, like way of governing, probably change by 2041.